Good evening, folks. Hope y'all had a good weekend. I already started this once and I realized I forgot my dang glass. So we'll start over. I lit this on the first one, but this is a New World Dorado. It's a box press cigar. It's got a pretty cool wrapper. If you can see that, yeah. Pretty ornate. I like it. I've had these before. When I long time ago I had a New World and I didn't care for it. I never went back to them. And recently somebody said I ought to try them, and I did, and I like them. Today I'm going to talk about if you have kids or grandkids, I think you'll find it interesting. Um, Something I heard, I can't, I wished I had was that smart to come up with it, but gives you something to think about. And tonight we're drinking this old Route 8, 8 year from Augusta Distillery. It's a single barrel cask strength. And I've had this a little while. It was a little hot when I first drank it, but it's kind of opened up. You can see I'm about halfway down the bottle now. It took me a while to go back to it because I really, and not that I mind, I drink Stag and Elijah Craig and all that, but just something about that. It was real spicy. It wasn't hot in a good way. Most of these, they're single barrels, so they're 115. They're different proofs, but they're generally 115 to 122. But this joker here, this is at the high end. This is 126.6 proof. So she's proofy. Um, so the first time I drank this, I really just tasted hot. I mean, that's it. And but it is opened up, so it's still a little hot, but a lot more sweetness on it now. Um, Almost like a vanilla. It's pretty good. Um, I'm glad I went back to it. It's kind of pricey. I don't remember what I paid for it, but I think I saw it on the shelf at the liquor store the other day. I don't know what it was, but I remember thinking, I have that. I don't like it. I'm not paying that much for it. So, not sure what I paid for it, but it was a little up there. And they do have some pricier expressions, but I think this is one of the cheaper ones they have, but it's pretty good, actually. I've liked it, but we'll see what happens with it. So far, this thing is pretty good. Look at that. You see that burn on there is pretty straight, almost perfect. Good white ash. Yeah, so far so good. Typical cigar. It's tobacco and leather, a little spicy, so it kind of goes with this Augusta tonight. Actually, that's a pretty good pairing. I just kind of picked stuff. Just I didn't really think about it, but they actually go pretty well together. Almost get a little orange, not orange, but like the not to sound fancy, but the zest. You ever have been around somebody who did that with the peel? Kind of get that a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. So far, so good. So the other day, um, and I wish I was smart enough to come up with this because it it kind of hit me. It's one of those things. Sometimes you hear stuff and you're like, "Dang, that's pretty good." I think you've thought it, but you didn't really put it into words. So this fella goes, and he got it from somebody else, but I heard him say, um, and hopefully I don't mess this up. He said, he's talking about having kids and how different things he does with them. Now, I didn't agree with a lot of the stuff he does. He's a younger guy, so he's very, I don't know, he's got a little different way than I had thought about it, but it's a different time too. So he's typical dad today. Not bad, just a little different than the way I did it, but that's okay. But he goes, when you're raising kids, you got to think, um, what are you to them? Are you a Are you an ancestor or are you a ghost? And when he first said it, I was thinking, didn't really know what he meant by ancestor, but ghost, I meant you didn't spend enough time with him. You know, you kind of weren't there for him. And that's what, in my mind, that's what I thought. Probably because I kind of feel that way about my kids. I probably didn't spend enough time with them. And that's always bothered me. So when I heard ghost, that's what popped into my head. But he followed up with Ancestor's Guide, Ghosts Haunt. And it's one of those things I was like, wow, that's something else. And you think about it, and I mean, I guess if you're just an ancestor to your kids, you're doing pretty good. Maybe this guy's smarter than me. Maybe he's doing his thing. But I think most people, if you're honest, you're going to be a little bit of both. I think we could think back to things that maybe we could have handled better. Um, you know, I don't have too many regrets, and my kids are well adjusted and have turned into great people. Um, so something must have gone right for all three of them to be productive adults. They were pretty easy to raise. But you got to think, I think back to some of the things I've said and did to them. You know, not everything was the best, you know. But you have kids when you're young. At least I did. We had kids when we were pretty young. Busy, a lot of stuff going on, and you don't really know what you're doing. You know, you had parents and all, but and there's things that you pull from them, and things that you go, well, I'm going to do things a little differently, um, and you try to do the best you can, but it's not easy, and and this guy was kind of like, you know, that's what everybody's excuse is. I didn't get an owner's manual. I did the best I could. And that's not good enough. And I kind of disagree with that because I think that's what everybody does, including him if he's honest with himself. He doesn't know if what he's doing is going to be right. You really don't know that till your kid grows up and see what choices they make. What his kids are very small still, 2 and 1 or I don't know, very very young, not even in school yet. So it's hard to tell, and it's easy to judge people when you ain't walked in their shoes. Um, Wait till they're 15 and 16. You know, you're having to guide them through life. Um, you might have a little different take on how you're treating them. I kind of took the approach that this is my house and we're going to do things my way. I'll listen to you, but ultimately it's my decision. There's no negotiation. When you get your own place, you can do what you want, but this is my house and we're going to do it my way. Right or wrong, that's what I did. I had a relative tell me one time, what did he say? He told me, you rule with an iron fist and you got to let your kids be who they are. I said, well, I do. They can be who they are to an extent, but I'm also not going to let them run off the rails. And, was that in where they ended up today so far? I think I did the right thing. They kind of have a and much older outlook. When I say much older person's outlook, then they're not your typical millennials. And I think my son is the generation after that, whatever that would be. I don't know if it's a Gen Z or something. I don't know what it is, but they don't think like a lot of people their age, and they haven't. They kind of have taken my wife and I's the way we look at things, and especially my oldest. She's got kids, and she's doing it a little differently than we did. In some ways, she's a little harder on them, and kind of monitoring what they're exposed to. I say that, but honestly, we didn't have that problem. I mean, there was no cell phone. Even when my kids were little, I don't think what cell phones really weren't a big thing, and we had cable TV, but there was no The internet wasn't really that big. I mean, it was not. It was a different world even for my kids. We had the internet, but I don't know. We didn't let them sit in front and watch TV all day for sure. They had TV time when they could watch it and things like that, but definitely didn't let it be the babysitter like some people do now. But she's kind of got them cut off. The whole time they get excited to come over here, partly because they get to watch TV over here and do some things that they don't get to do at home. But that's the way it should be. Grandma and grandpa should be where you go to have fun. That's the way it should be. Nana and Papa, that's what we call her, Nana and Papa. But that going back to the ancestor or ghost, man, that really hit me. Um, we all like to think in our mind, oh, I guided them through life, but there's things that we've all done. I think that you look back and thought, man, I think that's going to leave a mark. Things we could have done better. Um, now that they're all adults, I have apologized to them in general about, hey guys, I know we weren't perfect, but we did the best we could. We said what the guy disagrees with, and I think they understand it. I think every generation does it a little better, for the most part, in a perfect world. My dad had a pretty rough upbringing, and he was much harder on me than I was on my kids. And but I don't look back at my childhood and think I was mistreated in any way at all. He did the best he could, especially at my age now. In fact, the last time I was up there with him in the mountains, a few weeks ago, I thanked him for all that he did for us, working his ass off and working, 2 or 3 jobs to keep us living in a. We definitely weren't rich, but kept us out of the hood, so to speak, of Jacksonville. Moved us out to the suburbs, and probably more than he could afford, but that's why he was working 2 or 3 jobs, sometimes more. A lot of off duty work. As a kid, I looked at that and I thought it made me mad. I kind of was like, man, I wish he'd spend more time. And he was always grumpy when he was home. Now I see why, because he was tired. Um, I see why he did what he did. He did the best he could. I've talked to him about his childhood, and it wasn't the best. I won't get into it, but he got passed around. He had a bunch of brothers and sisters, and was passed around amongst them until he went in the Navy. Got old enough to, join the Navy and kind of started his life doing his thing. He met my mom, and that was it. And so he did the best he could. And like I say, I don't ever look back and think I got, it was typical 1970s and 80s upbringing. You had a lot of freedom. You roam the streets, come in with the street. You heard the olds come in with the street lights are on. We rode miles on our bikes up to the Little Champ to buy baseball cards. We ran in the woods and had campfires and built forts and all the crap you did back then, because there was no TV to watch. Had a good time. Kind of enjoyed my childhood for the most part. I'll be honest. We didn't have a lot, but they made sure we had it what we needed, and we've been a little more fortunate financially, just because of course, well, recently it's gotten crazy, but prices went up, but the salary of police officers kind of went up a lot from when I was a kid when my dad was doing it, and so we've done pretty. We never had a ton either, but and there were times it was a struggle. I'm not gonna lie, looking at the cars we drove, things like that, but I made priorities. Instead of buying Sea-Doos and Harleys and shit like that and bass boats, I put them through a Catholic school, and that's where we spent our money. But I hope like I said, I think there's things I would have done different, but I look back and I think, at least in my mind, I think they'll see me more as a ancestor than a ghost. I hope there's probably things that I said and did and that they probably will remember. Um, Nothing abusive. We, very seldom did we. They got spankings now and then, but it wasn't something that it was all the time. In fact, they got them when they were little. When they got a little older, that kind of stopped because they knew there was a possibility. I used to laugh because I think all I had to do was talk about it, and they knocked it off because they knew it might be. They never knew when it was coming, but we laugh about it now, so I don't think it bothered them that much. Just like mine didn't bother me. When I was a kid, I think back to the ones I got, and I deserved them. I could be a little asshole sometimes. But I was scared to death of my dad, and I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't do half of the crazy crap my friends did because I'm like, oh, I'm out, guys. I'm out because if the police bring me home, I'm done. But anyway, thinking back to your own families, your kids, your grandkids, what have you, whatever you got. Um, were you ancestors, or they're gonna see you as a ghost? Um, I think as a young person, I might share that with, because I think as a young with my kids, because as a young person, I think you need to hear that because I never even crossed my mind. I don't think you realize stuff like that till you get older. You get a different perspective at my age, but it's it really made me think and reflect on a lot of things. But overall, I think I did pretty good. I think I did pretty good. I think they're pretty happy. They come hang out with us. We spend a lot of time together. So that's a good sign. That's not like they don't want to come see us. So anyway, think about that if you've got kids or you got grandkids, or you want to give some advice to your kids who may be going to have children here soon. Kind of throw that out there because it kind of makes you think. You know, always let them do what they want when they want is not helpful because it doesn't prepare them for reality of life, which is why we've got the world we got now. Because I think there was a generation after us that kind of, follow your dreams and all this stuff that, well, shit, I got bills to pay. I don't got time to follow my dreams, but I can do it on the side if I want, if it turns into something great. But everybody's different. Everybody's different. But hey, think about it. Let me know what you think. Um, did you do everything right? Be honest, because I didn't. But I think we all do the best we can. I know the guy hates to hear that, but that's the truth. So this cigar, it stayed consistent. Um, but I'm getting a little bit of a graham cracker or some kind of something like a something sweet like that, but not like sugary sweet, just a little. Almost a little cinnamon. Hmm. Still getting a little caramel, vanilla. Good smoke. I haven't had to touch it up. Look at that burn line. Again, this has been in my, I don't know if I necessarily call it a dry box, but I talked about it before. I stage them. I keep them a little drier before I smoke them. And that works for me. Some people like them a lot more humidity. That thing right now, I think it's at 64% today. And some people say that's a little low, but I find 64 to 66 is kind of my sweet spot with these cigars. Everybody talks about the 70. I think 70 is too wet. It seems like when I keep them up around 70%, they get I get bad burns. Tunnel, like they're too wet. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Let me know what you think, what y'all think. But I like them a little dry like this. They burn better. A lot of smoke. This side you can probably see in the camera. A lot of smoke on this one. And pretty good on a Sunday night to wrap things up. Headed back to work. So we got a date we picked out for retirement. We passed a year, so we're in the next year down. So it's kind of nice. That happened, I guess, on Friday. So, but man, I'm ready to go, guys. But we'll talk about that enough. I've talked about about that enough. But hey, let me know what you think if you about your kids. If you've had these New World cigars or this old Route 8. If you watch SLB Drinks, he got a pretty big YouTube channel about whiskey and some bourbons and stuff primarily. Kurt, the older guy, he liked this. I remember he did a review on it a long time ago, and he seems to like it. I see why. The first time I drank it, I was kind of mad at him because we usually if they like something, him and his son, I'll usually like it, so I'll take a chance on it. And it seems like the things that they don't care for, I haven't cared for. So we got the same palate, I guess. But this one, I thought they let me down when I bought it, and I was kind of mad because it was kind of pricey. But right now, things pretty damn good. To me, it tastes a little bit like a Stag or Stag Junior. You know, the smaller bottle. Or a good Elijah Craig barrel proof. Some of those haven't been as good here lately, but I haven't tried any in the last year or so. But I got a million of the bottles I need to drink still because I got a couple that were not all that good. But a good bottle of that. If you like stuff like that, you'll probably like this. I don't see it all the time, so I don't know how available it is, but it's pretty good. I would say if you see it, give it a try, but give it a chance. Don't drink, like I did. I left it for months. I didn't touch it because I'm like, I don't like it. But I decided I need to drink some of these bottles down, so I got it out, and it's been pretty good. But anyway, you guys have a good week. I'll make another. This will come out Monday morning, and I'll probably make another one for Thursday. That's what I try to do. Try to be right to your kids and your family. That's all I got to say, because that's all you got. What you do to them is they're going to remember it, whether it's good or bad. They'll remember it. Trust me. But you guys have a good week. Stay safe and have a good evening.